Hello everyone, how are you feeling today? It's Cyrus71 here, and today I'm coming at you with my Ancient Gears deck profile, which is, in my opinion, a really fun deck and a pretty much classic power-up OTK deck. And for anybody who wonders before, no, I don't have Ancient Gear Fusion. I think its price is way too much over the top. $35 a copy, in my opinion, it's ridiculous. Even though I think it's a good card and changed the strategy of the deck, I think $35 is just ridiculous. And the same thing happening right now with Bingo Machine Go for like Legend Duelist White Dragon Abyss. In my opinion, it's even more ridiculous because it's costing $48 a copy for a card that's not even that useful for its deck. It just helps a little bit. Even for the ritual versions. My friends that love to run the ritual version of Chaos Max and Chaos Dragon thinks that Bingo Machine is not such a helpful card. It's maximum a 2 copy, and most of the time I only run it at 1, and it's only there to be an Ash Blossom bait. Other than that, it's just absolutely useless, and it's not that helpful, and you have enough consistency, so I don't know why that card costs so much. But let's not dwell on that kind of thing. Let's get started. And before that, before we will crack next week and we'll move the gears into the channel update, see what I did there? I actually wanted to give you guys still a deck profile before the week, next week is going to be the updates of the channel. And I'm going to talk about things that are going to be here in the future or just in general to see where are we going from here when we got 520 subscribers, and how do I feel about Yu-Gi-Oh! And the direction I think this channel need to go. But without further ado, let's get started. And my build is actually focusing only almost bringing this guy out. It's no Ancient Gear Golem kind of weird stuff, just focusing on bringing this guy out because this guy is just by himself. It's just an OTK engine. Just that's what he is. So that's pretty much it. So let's get started. So starting things off with the big monsters, I run 2 copies of Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon and 1 copy of Ancient Gear Golem. Now this ratio is kind of interesting because there's some people who like to run 2 Ancient Gear Golems or just run only 1 Reactor Dragon and 1 Ancient Gear Golem. But I felt like I need another name for Ancient Gear Golem, and the one that I felt not Golem, for Ancient Gears, and the ones that I felt is probably the best is Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon, because Reactor Dragon A is summonable from the deck and or the hand with Fortress, and it doesn't have a restriction for be special summon like Ancient Gear, and it's also popping for you cards. So I felt to myself yeah, Reactor Dragon is not a bad card to either send from my deck to the graveyard with the effect of Ancient Gear Fusion to just fuel my graveyard, or just in general just a good boss monster to just special summon from the deck if you need to. It's pretty good. So I felt to myself 2 copies of it is kind of nice. And then Ancient Gear Golem is only here because we have Ancient Gear Fusion, and it's allowing me to fusion summon with materials from the deck when he's on the field. You don't need more than 1. If you have more than 1 and you're just going to the Ancient Gear Golem, focusing on Ancient Gear Golem by himself and trying to get a Megaton with 3 materials, and that's your entire idea, then go for it. But if you're not trying to do that and you're just trying to play consistently OTK, more than 1 copy of this card is just a brick. It's just freaking a brick. If you run this and Ultimate Pound and whatever, and you also run Trade-In, that's okay, but other than that, it's a brick, guys. It just doesn't help in any kind, shape, or form. And that's pretty much it for the boss monsters. Now I'll move on to the rest of the Ancient Gears. First and foremost, 3 copies of Wyvern. Pretty obvious, it's your Stratos, you want to run 3, it search for you every single Ancient Gear card. You don't care about its secondary effect though, but it's just a really good card, you want to run it at 3. Next up, for the worst Stratos of the deck, because it's also requiring you to discard, I run 3 copies of Gearframe. Gearframe only searching spells and traps that list Ancient Gear Golem in their text, or Ancient Gear Golem or Ultimate Pound, of course, to your hand. You technically only search Ancient Gear Fusion, but like I said, if you build a build, and it is possible, and I might going to try it by myself, it might actually going to work with a lot of trade-ins and whatever, you could build a build that's only focusing on Ancient Gear Golem, and then you can also add Ancient Gear Golem to your hand. I don't see why would you like to do that, but if that's what you want, you're more than welcome to. So 3 copies of Gear Frame because there's not a whole lot of like amazing Ancient Gear monsters that you want to run in your deck, and Gear Frame is probably one of the better ones, especially because he has 500 defense, because he is searchable when you use Box. You search with Ancient Gear, Wyvern, Box, and then with Box you search the Gear Frame. So that's pretty much how that most of the time works. And then lastly, I run 3 copies of Hunting Hound, just because sometimes I don't see my fusion spells, or I need an additional fusion spell, or just in general, I need to burn my opponent for 600 points of damage to finish games, and it's also help you in time, so why not run 3 copies of Ancient Gear Hunting Hound, just because it's a really good, it's probably your best other name, like you want to have like at least 12 to 13 names in the deck, and it's probably one of your best names. The rest of them are like the other ones I would consider like good enough to run, but it's not good at all, is probably Gadget, and Gadget is probably the best one out of the bad ones. So yeah, and also Hydra is kind of okay, but like you don't want to run the big ones. You want to have a list of like, I would say 10 small ones and 3 big ones. That's most of the time how that works, and that's actually kind of a good that we got Gear Frame, because it just changed the deck for good, in my opinion, just giving us another name and another level 4 to work with those guys as well, not only just to have a search. Because I run 3 copies of, not 3 copies, 4 copies overall of Silver Gadget and Gold Gadget. In my opinion, you want to run those guys because they helping you either an immediate rank 4, or a link 2 to Click for Genius in order to start your plays. In my opinion, they're more than necessary, like they're super necessary and super useful, and you can also sit on them in defense if you have to. But like I said, this is an OTK deck. It's totally depend on your play style, but you want to go to the OTK. Everybody will agree that Ancient Gears like to go to the OTK instead of just sitting down doing absolutely nothing. Next up for the spells, we run 3 copies of the best spell in the deck, and for anybody who wondered up to now why one of the copies of like 2 cards up and not including this was, and 3 cards with this were like a little bit of weird, with like one weird Wyvern, one weird Gold Gadget, and one weird this, is because those 2 are European version and this one is an American version. So yeah, for anybody who wonders for like how those looks different, that's how different they look. Anyway, 3 copies of Catapult. Catapult is amazing. Catapult is probably one of the better cards in the deck, because, or probably the best card in the deck, because it's just popping your Gear Town and then giving you a free special summon from the deck, ignoring summoning conditions, as well as pop your Gear Town, which then triggering out Gear Town effect to special summon from your deck. So that's really, really cool, really, really useful, and it's probably one of your most important cards in the deck. And in order to see that, because sometimes you can see Ancient Gear Catapult, unfortunately, and you don't want to waste Wyvern Search on him, because it's going to have a monster on the field, and then Ancient Gear Catapult is kind of useless. I run 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. I don't see a lot of people run this. I don't know why, because this card gets you the ability to use Ancient Gear Catapult in the graveyard, popping your Gear Town if you need to. You're probably not going to get the Ancient Gear Golem or whatever you need, but you are going to get a token, so it's at least something to work with, and you still popped your Gear Town. So I felt like 2 Foolish Burial Goods is just playing 5 copies if I don't see this guy. Even most of the time I do see this guy, but like I want to have at least 5 copies in order to just see this card as soon as possible. So that's pretty much it, and that's, in my opinion, really, really useful. Just go and try Ancient Gear, not Ancient Gear Fusion, go and try Foolish Burial Goods. In my opinion, it will surprise you more than you think, even though it doesn't give you the ignoring summoning condition Ancient Gear Golem. Sometimes you need to do those kind of things. Next up, 3 copies of Gear Town. I don't think I need to explain why. 2 copies of Terraforming, because now it's semi-limited, so you want to run this lineup of field spells. Pretty nice. Pretty useful. Not a lot of change. The Terraforming went down to 2. However, when Terraforming will go down to 1, we're probably going to feel that. Hopefully it would not happen, because I understand the check for 2, but there's some decks that depends way too much on their field spells, and I feel like if you do that, you're just killing them completely, or just making it so much harder for them to play. So I think like 2 is the correct ratio. I could be wrong though, and if you think I'm wrong, you can tell me in the comments down below in a nice manner, but I just think like it should stay at 2. Speaking of 2, I also run 2 copies of Ancient Gear Fortress. Now, I know the people who like to run it at 3. I can also understand the people who run it at 1, but I decided to go in the midway just because Fortress protect your monsters. True. But I don't want to see multiple copies of this in my hand. It could happen if I have 3s that I see 2 copies of it in my hand and it does absolutely nothing for me. And first and foremost, I don't have anything else to just add into my deck, like to take out of my deck, because I feel like my deck functioning quite well. If you really want a third one and you think like you want, I would recommend to take one Reactor Dragon, even though I don't like 100% agree with that move, because I think you need to have at least 13 Ancient Gear monsters in order to perform correctly. And Fortress is searchable. B, you have ways to like get it to your hand with like Iron Draw or something like that. So it's like, it's not the end of the world if you don't see it. I do understand the protection. I do understand the ideas that you want to pop it if you don't see your Gear Town, but you don't need more than 2 in my opinion. More than 2 is just clogs. And the last Ancient Gear spell is Want Ancient Gear Workshop, because sometimes I have to use my gearbox and I'm using it to make like a rank 4 or just like make a link 2, and I want to get it searched anyway. So I activate Gear Workshop, add this back to my hand, and it's counted as like added card back to my hand except from my draw phase, and there you go. You get a search immediately. So that's kind of cool. And that's pretty much it for that. Now we'll move on to the Fusion spell. Fusion spells, 2 copies of Ancient Gear Fusion. This is pretty much Fusion Substitute, supposed to substitute Ancient Gear Fusion. But anyway, Ancient Gear Fusion is an excellent fusion spell, giving you the ability to fusion summon from the deck if you have Ancient Gear Golem from your field. So you use the Ancient Gear Golem and 3 materials from your deck to bring out a Gear Giant. This is a really good card, filling up your graveyard for Overload Fusion to make out a second one, and in general just giving you the ability to make Ancient Gear Golem kind of useful, as well as just get your fusions a lot more easily. So that's why you don't need to run so much Ancient Gear Golems anymore, because of Ancient Gear Fusion. Speaking of also of Overload Fusion a second ago, we are going to run 2 copies of Overload Fusion. I think Overload Fusion is a really excellent fusion spell, and I run 2 of it just because I want to see it, but like I said, not too much. 1, in my opinion, is not enough. You can't see it. And like, I like to summon 2 of these. If you get the better hand, you want to run summon 2 of these, and then just your opponent doesn't have any chance to survive. So that's why I run 2 copies of Overload Fusion, just to see it a little bit more easily than just running at 1. The only fusion spell I run at 1 is 1 Power Bond, which can be Machine Duplication if you prefer. I don't run Machine Duplication because one reason. The entire deck idea is to bring out this guy. If I'm bringing out this guy, Machine Duplication not going to work on him because it's unaffected by spells. However, if I'm using Power Bond, I can make him a 9,000 attacking monster, because that spell is coming up as like, it's the way he was summoned, so he's going to get the double attack. But he does not going to get a limiter removal effect because it's activated on him already when he's on the field and just unaffected by spell and trap effects. So like Power Bond is the condition to summon him, or like the thing that you get when you summon him, so that's why it's work on him, and that's why I like Power Bond at 1. It's just making a big monster on my field, and it just felt like limiter removal is nice if you have the space to run it at least at 1. I just particularly don't have the space. Like I said, it is a good way to just run this card out if you don't want to, like run only 1 Reactor Dragon, but I felt like Machine Duplication is not that needed. It's not Machine Duplication, sorry. Limiter Removal. Limiter Removal is not that needed. It's nice, but it's not that needed in my opinion. It's a nice card, but it's like, it's nice to be at 2, and it's really amazing in Cyber Dragons if you're trying OTK, but in Ancient Gears, especially when you summon Chaos Giant, it's just kind of useless. So I felt to myself like Power Bond is a little bit better. If you want to run anything else, you're more than welcome to. Next up, 2 copies of Iron Draw. Iron Draw is really amazing. You can just see with it Overload Fusion, or just, you don't really care about having too much monsters. You want to have monsters, but not too much, because most of the time I'm ending up the board with, like, if I'm opening up correctly, I ending up with like this and this on my field, and then like if I have like a Iron Draw, I can use that to draw 2 cards because of his effect, and then I most of the time see my Overload Fusion with this because I searched or send enough cards from my decks for my deck to the graveyard, even though if not to, it's not the end of the world, I can still special summon something, but like if I'm seeing Overload Fusion with this, it's just having two of them right here like that, and just your opponent cannot survive. So Iron Draw is a really, really good card to just help you draw the last two combo pieces that you need to, like either Power Bond or Overload Fusion. And this deck doesn't special summon so much and doesn't care to have like only two monsters on the field anyway, because all of its monsters are beaters, so Iron Draw is just an excellent card for this deck. And then the last three spells, one copy of Monster Reborn, because your entire deck benefit from it, except from Aging Gear Golem, so why not? And then two copies of Twin Twisters to hate back row, because you don't really care about discarding some cards, and some cards you don't mind them being in the graveyard. You could change this if you don't like to Cosmic Cyclone, but I would recommend Twin Twisters. Also, it could be also as well Hate Runate if you really want to just bounce them back, but it's totally up to you. And that pretty much does it for the main deck. Few things I would say: if you want to run Raigeki, run it. If you want to run Limited Removal, run it. If you want to run a third Fortress, run it. I just don't think like a third Fortress is very consistent, because it's brick in your hand. Limited removal more than one, if you want to run more than one, in my opinion, is kind of stupid, because if you focus on giant, it's kind of like not affecting him, so it's kind of like useless. And Raigeki is not that good because everybody and their mother running a Cerberus today, so it's like, yeah, Cerberus is going to protect your opponent monsters from being destroyed by card effects, so you don't need Raigeki. You more than want to bring out your big fusion onto the field and just smash them all, because they don't have protection from battle. Like, even if they do get protection from battle, and if you know how to negate their correct cards, you don't really care about the idea of like Phoenix and Cerberus protecting them from monsters. Like, if you know how to stop their what is his name again? Trigate Wizard, I mean, you don't going to compete really well against Extra Link deck, but if you want to, and like you find yourself with like a Trigate Wizard, bait him correctly, and then it doesn't matter what he does, because all of his monsters are in attack position, you bring out this guy, and it's absolutely unnecessary to run Raigeki, because Raigeki does not destroy his monsters if you have Cerberus on the field, so yeah, and like I said, also limited removal is not that useful. But enough talking so much without showing cards. I'm going to show you my extra deck by starting with two copies of Ancient Gear Giant. I don't think you need any explanation about this card. 45 attacking bit stick that can attack all monsters unaffected by spell and traps, and our opponent cannot activate any effects during the battle phase, which is really amazing. If I remember correctly, cannot activate effect during the battle phase. I will let you guys to read for a second. Hold on a second. There you go. You can read the effect if you don't remember it 100%, like me sometimes. So if I'm mistaken, you can see it for yourself. And then this card is so amazing and just help you so much. In my opinion, it's the main win condition of the deck. It's just really amazing, and I'm really glad that they actually brought it out in a Raging Tempest. I never thought they were actually going to bring to us this guy or Hound, even though there were two amazing cards. Anyway, even though they actually make Hound a lot better than it was in the series of Arc V. But anyway, we'll move on to the next fusion, which is one copy of Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem. I never go so much, like I almost never go to this fusion, but it's only here because of this guy. Because when this guy dies, you can summon this. This one is not the most useful as well, and like I said, if you want to run, like, want him to attack 3 times, you're more than welcome to run like 3 Ancient Gear Golems and do whatever you want, or Ultimate Pounds. I just specifically don't think it's necessary. It's only here because sometimes I need 2 materials, or like I would like to use Power Bond on less materials and just summon a 6600 instead of wasting my entire hand for this. And it's actually more than enough sometimes to get over monsters. As well, when he dies in some particular ways, he pretty much bring out this guy. When this guy dies, he bring out the Ancient Gear Golem. So it's kind of like an interesting way to like go this, and go right back into the little version, which is Ancient Gear Golem. And then the last fusion, in my opinion, one of the better ones, the second best one in the extra deck, except from Giant, is 2 copies of Howlitzer, or whatever his name is. He's amazing in the case that he's unaffected by anything. and he pretty much burning your opponent for 1,000, and when your opponent getting rid of him by battle because there's no other way you can get rid of him, you getting an Ancient Gear monster from your deck, ignoring its summoning condition. This one is freaking awesome. If you are stuck and you're going first, this is one of the better cards to sit on because you can just burn your opponent for like either game or just for time, and just does everything that you need in terms of protection, because your opponent need to get over this, and then they also get to fight crazy big monsters that just negate their effects during the battle phase. So that's really cool as well. Then for the Xyz, I run 1 copy of Utopia and 1 the Lightning, because sometimes I need a rank 4 and not just going into my Giant, because sometimes I need this 5,000 attacking monster. So yeah, Utopia the Lightning. Gear Giga Knight X for search, Crooked Cook for pops, and then Heavy Armor Train Iron Wolf if I want to attack directly. That's something that I actually like to do a lot, and that is like giving either this or any other, like that I use Power Bond on, and this, just have them both on the field, and this one is a 9,000 attacking monster that just can attack your opponent directly without them able to stop you. And that's why Iron Wolf is a really, really good card. And then the last rank 4 is 1 copy of Castell to pretty much clear any card that your pesky card your opponent has by targeting it. Unfortunately, it's targeting, but you know, it can get rid of a Cerberus now because we don't have Goblin, and Goblin is now banned. So yeah, that's kind of okay. And then for the link monsters, you don't really need a whole lot of link monsters, you just need some that help you. So 1 copy of Genius because it's amazing, it's going to negate your Ancient Gear Golem effect, you don't really care about that, and negate an opponent monster effect, as well as 1,800 attacking monsters, so that's really cool. Mrs. Radiant, because Mrs. Radiant, sometimes you want to boost your monster, so let's just say, I summon the Lil versions of, like, you know, this guy, like I said, with Power Bond. He become 7,100, which is really, really crazy, and then this one probably can finish your opponent for game. So 1 copy of Mrs. Radiant is just really, really helpful for every monster, except, of course, Giant. And then last one is Underclock Taker, to just pretty much target your opponent monster and just gain its attack and give it to your monster. And then if your opponent monster is strong enough, again, attack him for game. These the entire extra deck that you need. It just like toolboxes things to just make your attacking even more crazier. So that's pretty much what this extra deck does. Just clean some stuff and just making your opponent, your monsters either more consistent, your deck more consistent, or just attack everything for fun. So yeah, that's pretty much does it for the deck profile. I'm sorry it was a really long one, but I wanted to explain my card choices because there's some things here like, you know, I don't run limited removal, I don't run a Third Fortress, and I don't run a Raigeki, which is seem weird to players, as well as I do run in my build Foolish Burial Goods, and I just wanted to explain it. So most of the time videos are not going to be that long unless they're updates or something like that, and like I said, next week is probably going to be the update, so we're going to stay tuned for that. But until next time, guys, hope you guys enjoy the video. If you have any suggestions or way to improve the deck, just let me know in a nice and calm manner in the comments down below, because I like when people like keep calm and do not get angry for no good reason just because I run something that's a little bit different from them, because I think that's kind of like destroy the freedom of speech in a way, because it just, yeah, I love some stuff, I don't have to do what you exactly want. You're allowed to suggest to me, but you're not allowed to force me your opinion. And that is a big thing that I don't know why people in the community thinks that you need to force on a person your opinion and your playstyle. If somebody would like to play differently, that's what they want to do. But anyway, like I said, hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you enjoyed the video enough and you want to follow me. Also hit the bell button if you want to be notified immediately when I upload a video. But until next time, guys, stay safe, and remember, creativity is the key of this game. Wow, I just got stuck on the word. Creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day, guys, and stay safe. See you guys next time, and for probably the channel update. So stay tuned for that. Bye-bye, guys.